So we finally got into Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And before we go any further, you should watch the first 2 Texas Chainsaw Massacre breakdowns, just so you're not surprised when Leatherface talks like Matthew McConaughey. I mean, it's not really explained why he does in the earlier ones, but just go watch them. And as is the tradition in Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, we begin with a narrator bringing us up to speed on the main story. And they also keep the tradition of just changing the events of what happened in the first few movies, just because. We now learn that Sally died 4 years after the events of the first movie, and in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, we learn that authorities never found the Sawyer's farmhouse, but now in part 3, not only did they find it, but one member of the family, W.E. Sawyer, went to trial and died in the gas chamber in 1981, and Leatherface is still alive. Who the hell is W.E. Sawyer? During the opening credits, we see Leatherface killing a young woman and cutting off her face, while another woman watches from outside, and then she runs off. Now, I would say remember her for later, because it'll be important, but you'll see. And then we see a young couple, Michelle and Ryan, who are driving through Texas on their way to Florida. As they're driving through, they hear a news report about a mass grave that was discovered, with roughly 60 dead bodies in it. A reporter is live on the scene and is played by the same actress that played Stretch in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The director stated that he believes this character is Stretch, and she's still on the hunt for this family, but the opening crawl basically says that the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 never happened. The director was also fired and later rehired because no one else wanted to touch this movie, so that tells you a lot about what we're about to witness. They pull into the Last Chance gas station, and it is your basic run-of-the-mill gas station in the middle of nowhere in a horror movie. The gas station attendant is Alfredo, and he is again your typical out-in-the-middle-of-nowhere gas station attendant, just sitting outside his place of business, cutting out pictures in a porno magazine. There's clearly no management at this gas station, so he can be as creepy as possible and make thinly veiled rape threats while Ryan is going to the restroom. Like, Ryan, just go on the side of the road literally at any point in this vast wasteland. Pump your gas and go.
I'm gonna service you real good, man.
Bitch says fill her up, I'll fill it up for you, mascara-face. Make you moan. Make you moan real good.
Man, only creepy redneck gas station attendants can get away with acting like this. A scene like this in an office building would never work. You wanna know why? That's right, Barb in Human Resources. She doesn't put up with any of that shit. Michelle is getting freaked out, and Ryan is still in the bathroom, no doubt carefully placing an entire roll of toilet paper on the seat before His Majesty will sit down. And so Michelle has to be saved by Tex, played by Viggo Mortensen, who was doing this movie in order to keep some compromising photos from being released. I mean, I'm guessing that's why he's here. Tex is flirting with Michelle, and she's very receptive to it. Why, you ask?
He's Viggo! You're like the buzzing of flies to him!
And then Ryan comes back, and he tries to assert his dominance over Tex, but he's wearing 2 button-up shirts from the Gap, so Tex is not threatened by you. Tex asks for a ride, but before they decide, Michelle then says that she has to go to the bathroom. Now, I know it's a little more awkward for women, but seriously, just piss on the side of the road when you are far away from this weird-ass gas station. And I love how in horror movies, the protagonists always spend just the longest amount of time possible in the creepiest gas station in the middle of nowhere. There's a Family Express in a pretty populated area by my house, and I won't stay in there for more than 4 minutes. Like, no gas station is really safe. Tex gives Ryan directions to a shortcut that he knows, and again asks for a ride, but Ryan tells him no. Tex goes inside and finds Alfredo peeping on Michelle going potty, and they get into a fight. Wait, did I say going potty? So sorry, I don't know what's going on. Alfredo runs out with a shotgun, and as Michelle and Ryan speed away, he shoots their car and then kills Tex. And Ryan yells at Michelle to use Tex's shortcut. And they're driving for a while with no sign of civilization when a truck speeds away from the gas station and chases them down. They get a flat tire and the truck drives off. And Ryan tries his damnedest to appear strong for Michelle.
We gotta change this tire and get out of here, now.
Okay. Slow and easy. 'Cause I'm about to fucking lose my mind!
That is usually more reassuring when you're not on the verge of tears. And they're changing the flat when Leatherface shows up and attacks their car, but they manage to get away. And also driving on this stretch of road is Benny, and he and Michelle crash their cars at the same time when Tex jumps out in the middle of the road. Frog Dog Cigarettes presents Aftermath of an Accident. Has this ever happened to you? You're driving down a quiet Texas road when Viggo Mortensen jumps out in front of you and startles you right down into a ditch. Never a fun way to spend an evening. In fact, Viggo is the leading cause of motor accidents in our fine state. And while we can't stop his reign of terror, we can help in the aftermath. The first rule when dealing with someone in a bad accident is make sure to not move their necks, as they may have suffered spinal injuries that you're not aware of. Okay, I'm just gonna chalk that up to good old-fashioned adrenaline. I'm sure you wouldn't knowingly disobey the very first rule. Step 2, stay where you are. If you're certain the car is in no danger of exploding, then it's in everyone's best interest to leave them where they are. Moving them away from the car could cause more complications later on. I don't know why you're trying to cheese me off, but consider me properly cheesed. This is my job here. Are you having a good laugh? Or are you just dumb? Step 3. Concussions are a very serious matter, and it's very important that you do whatever you can to make sure the injured person stays awake no matter what.
Yeah, I want you to take one of these.
Painkillers. Might make you a little sleepy.
Oh, good gravy. Is this a game to you? I'm trying to save lives, and you're just doing the exact opposite of everything I say. Starting to feel like it's on purpose. Ryan tells Benny that they're being hunted by a man with a chainsaw, but he doesn't believe them. And Benny is a survivalist who trains every weekend, and he leaves them there while he goes to get supplies from his Jeep when he comes face to face with Leatherface. Ugh. Face to face with Leatherface? You really shouldn't use the same word 3 times in one sentence. That is just terrible writing. This is my little baby chainsaw. He's hungry. Chomp. So Leatherface attacks him with a little tiny bone saw when the girl from the beginning distracts him and he takes off after her. She loses him and runs into Benny, and she tells him that she's been running for these people for a week. And these two do everything wrong when you are being hunted. They stay in one place, speak loudly, and oh my god, unless you're gonna put that cigarette in a tree to lure Leatherface and then stomp him to a pulp like Ice-T did, then what the hell are you doing? Oh, and then they just split up. Dynamite. Ryan gets his leg stuck in a bear trap, and Michelle is forced to take off when Leatherface catches up to him. Now, Ryan got caught in a trap, so Leatherface gets him pretty easily. But out in the open, Leatherface is the easiest horror movie villain to get away from. Just go the opposite direction from the sound of the chainsaw. And plus, Leatherface has a bum leg in this one, supposedly when he cut his leg in the timeline that this movie is apparently not a part of. Michelle makes it to a house and lets herself in and finds a girl crying upstairs. When she tries to help her, the little girl stabs her. Don't talk back. And this little girl is the scariest part of this whole movie. Tex shows up, and because this is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, we have to have the final girl strapped to a chair at the dinner table so they can feed their old-ass grandpa some blood. But I think this time, the grandpa may finally be dead. I think it's time to say goodbye. And they string up Ryan, but they realize that he's still alive. And along with Tex, Leatherface has another never-before-seen brother named Tink.
Got some dark meat coming in too, Mama. Junior be trotting it in any minute.
And now I'm always all about freedom and just being able to do what you want on your own schedule, but the Sawyers work from home and they've been working all night and most of the day and they still haven't eaten dinner yet. Say what you will about a normal job, but I know that at 5 o'clock I can go home and eat and I don't have to chase my meal all over my property. Working for someone else. There's nothing better. They also give Leatherface a sweet new chrome chainsaw, and it is probably the only cool thing about this movie. Oh, hey there, darling. Name's Leatherface, Bubba, Junior, or Thomas, depending on who you ask. Personally, I like Bone Dog. Oh, hey, do you like music? I've got this Walkman. You can listen to it if you want. This is my ex-girlfriend's Stretching Eyes song. I mean, if she existed. Things have been real fuzzy lately. A lot of memories of things that may not have happened. And I'm like a foot shorter now. No idea who all these people are. Oh, it's crazy. But I'm rambling. Hey, do you want to see my butthole inverter? It basically just sucks everything out through the butthole. I got it from a Sweet 16.
Look here, Mama. Colored drawers.
Oh gosh, look, it is like this every night. It might be a while before dinner's ready. Why don't I take you out to a nice restaurant? Let me make a dinner reservation on my thigh pad. It's this little computer Tink made, covered with human thigh skin. But seriously, this family is so food-focused. It's a real problem in America. And because this movie doesn't know what it's doing, after going to the trouble to show that Ryan is still alive, they then just kill him for good. Like, what was the point of having him survive? He didn't even do anything to help Michelle escape. And people will be all like, oh no, it's so she can see the hopelessness in the situation by watching her boyfriend be murdered. As far as she knows, she already watched him be murdered. She's nailed to a chair. She knows it's hopeless.
Honey, you go get washed up for supper now.
He does make the sweetest damn babies, you know.
Oh my god, Leatherface had sex? On a woman? Just like Steven Seagal. Just then, Benny opens fire and kills the mom and shoots Grandpa in the face, and I'm like 95% certain that he's dead now. Tex and Benny get into a fight, and Viggo Mortensen actually broke his ribs right here, which would prepare him for the Lord of the Rings shoot, where he would almost die every single day on set. And Benny then sets him on fire, which was not in the script, it was accidental, and Viggo Mortensen actually got set on fire. Michelle is about to be killed by Leatherface, when Benny, who has had to do everything so far, tackles Leatherface and they begin fighting while the chainsaw is floating and still running. Not sure what's going on here. And Leatherface gets the upper hand and pushes Benny into the chainsaw while Michelle does absolutely nothing. And then 30 seconds too late to save Benny, she bashes Leatherface in the head with a rock and he slips down below the water. The next morning, Michelle is wandering down the road when somehow Benny shows up and he's still alive. Like, he was chainsawed in the head. And oh my god, Alfredo's still alive too? Michelle shoots him with a shotgun and then drives off. And in the last scene, we find that Leatherface is still alive. And so that was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. A sequel made by people who watched the original on a bar TV with the sound down. And the timeline and continuity for this movie gets just as convoluted as Halloween, which I do have to finish. So as always, thanks for watching, and I have to recognize my supporters on Patreon. Things are getting fun over there. We got monthly polls to decide what movies to break down. I'm going through every episode of the Adam West Batman series. Everyone is confused as to why the Penguin would set up a diversion in a jewelry store and then not try to rob it.
The old one, too. Bam! A feint at the jewelry store to set us up for the real knockout later on. Zowie!
Robin.
Oh, you'll have to forgive Robin. He's a little rambunctious. He had 2 whole boxes of Razzles this morning, even though I had limited him to just 1. He didn't know I witnessed him sneaking the other box of Razzles. I'll speak with him in private, Commissioner. And I'm using Patreon kind of like my live journal, where it's just the unfiltered, rambling thoughts of a madman 24 hours a day.